Joining us now, Scott Taylor. Two things about Scott. Well, three. Number one, he's a former Navy SEAL, so he knows a little something about raids. Number two, he was a former congressman, 2nd District of Virginia. Number three, he is the leading candidate for the Republican nomination for U.S. Senate in Virginia in 2020 to run against Mark Warner. And Scott is with us now. Scott, thanks for making time to be with us today.
John, always a pleasure to be with you, brother, and your audience, of course.
Scott, tell us about this raid on Baghdadi, what you thought of it, how it went down, and what you thought about the president's press conference Sunday morning.
So first of all, obviously, I'm super proud of my brothers in arms who executed this. It's a complicated thing. They had to go in quick, and utilizing intelligence, and those things are always potentially hairy. A lot of things can go wrong, mostly on the way in and the way out. No one got injured except for, unfortunately, the dog. But it was successful. Kudos to them, and we took somebody off this earth that didn't need to be here. So I'm super proud of them. I'm glad the president green-lighted the decision. I watched his press conference. I didn't think it was. I thought it was good. People were criticizing him for some of the language, calling the guy, that he died like a dog and whimpering. I had no problem with that whatsoever. And I think one of the things that's lost on a lot of people is in the Middle East, that's a huge insult when you're calling somebody, saying that they're like a dog. It's a huge insult. And the thing is, I think it's appropriate to describe someone who has inspired a lot of other people to kill many people, as someone who is whimpering and whining and hiding in a tunnel, basically, and it just deflates him, and I think that's good. I was reading this Washington Post article this morning, actually, and the headline says, here's what he says: in creating spectacle around Baghdadi's death, Trump departs from Obama's more measured tone on bin Laden, which is complete BS. So I quickly did a Google search and pulled up another Washington Post headline from 2012. And where it says, Obama's strategy of taking credit for Osama bin Laden killing is risky, observers say. So it's exactly complete BS. Because I remember when Obama, and I was critical of him, because if you remember, Biden and them thought, GM's alive, bin Laden's dead. I mean, they couldn't stop taking credit for that. And, of course, it was, my brothers that went out there and actually did it. So I thought the president, he praised the intel community. He praised the military who did this. He gave kudos to those on the ground, our partners on the ground that gave intel. It was a really good day for the world, quite frankly. And I have no problem with him and some of his language, which is, quite frankly, how normal people talk, right? So,
Well, I said at the beginning, watching the press conference, my wife Ann, who the Fräulein, said, she said, one of the reasons I love this guy is because even though I'm watching it on TV, he said he could be right now on my kitchen table having a Diet Coke with us, and this would be the same way he'd be explaining it to us. It's just like he talks to real people. And as you know, Scott, the Washington elite establishment, the bureaucrats, the deep state, those that are entrenched there, hate the fact that he can connect and resonate with average middle-class people that way. They hate it because he doesn't do Washington speak, right?
Yeah, he doesn't. Exactly. I mean, I've seen so many people that were uncomfortable with what he said, and I don't understand that, because I'm a regular guy. I'm from lower middle class. I can tell you back home, everyone would be saying the same things, and they're like, oh, it's going to galvanize ISIS. Like, what are you talking about? It's not like ISIS is good for anyone. And I literally just got back from the Middle East. I was in Oman. And they don't like ISIS. No, they don't. ISIS doesn't represent normal people who are Islamic. It's crazy. So, and they would be calling him a dog too.
Right.
So, no, I thought it was fine, appropriate, and I don't think he even came close to taking as much credit as Obama did for bin Laden.
What about the fact that he didn't tell Nancy Pelosi or Adam Schiff or anybody on the other side?
So if you find yourself as the chairman of the Intel Committee and you can't be trusted to be told about something like that, you probably got a problem. And the reality is there anyone out there for real who has watched the past 3 years and believes that Adam Schiff is trustworthy and he's not going to leak something? You have going on right now impeachment hearings that are in a skiff that Republican members, and I know this for a fact because they're my friends, have been threatened with epic hearings and being in violations if anything is leaked. Meanwhile, things are getting leaked, aren't they? It's only coming from one side. So, and that's been happening for 3 years now. Adam Schiff hasn't. Can't wait to go talk to the cameras. So, look, I can tell you right now, as a former Navy SEAL, Special Forces guy, there's no way in hell I would trust that guy with the lives of my brothers in arms going in on a top secret mission like that. Not even close. I would not even consider it. No. So, I don't have a problem with that. I think that in how do I say this? In a normal times, even at times when there's bickering back and forth, it would be 100%. It should be appropriate that you have that gang of 8, that they understand what's going on, that they're alerted to it. But we're not in normal times, man. Mm-hmm. We're just not. And I wish that we were. I really wish that we were. But again, there's no way that I would trust Adam Schiff not leaking something because he just for political partisan gain and put my brother's lives on the line. There's just no way. I wouldn't be able to trust him.
Well, so, and the fear is, everybody leaks in the town, but the fear is that some of these people hate the president so much, they just hate him, that they would leak the information in order to foil the mission so the president didn't get the credit for it. I mean, that is not out of the realm of possibility.
It's not. Because you've seen that for the past 3 years. That
right.
They'll do anything to harm him, and anything, and they don't care how it hurts the country. I mean, look at what's going on with how they're trying to bash the economy's fantastic, but they just keep talking about it and bashing him and trying to reduce confidence. So it harms them politically. At the same time, they don't care that it really harms the country. So, I wish that it wasn't so. Should Nancy Pelosi, could she keep a secret? I do think that she could. I think Nancy should have known about it. I will say that. But Adam Schiff, I got a problem, man. And then if Nancy knew about it, then Adam knows about it. And I couldn't trust that guy. I just couldn't. And this is, I'm saying this not as a politician. I'm saying this as a spec war guy, as a special operations guy. I know that no one on those birds, on those helicopters, I guarantee you they wouldn't trust Adam Schiff either.
Right.
So,
right.
And the other thing that was talked about was, Russia was alerted first. Well, that's ridiculous. I actually, Jake Tapper tweeted something, and I know Jake personally, and he's a nice guy, and I retweeted. I'm like, look, you can't be disingenuous here. They control the airspace where in Idlib, and we've been coordinating with Russia for years in Syria, mostly for deconfliction. So there's not any flashpoint or miscalculations that lead to greater conflict and American deaths and then war with Russia, because that's a powder keg, inside Syria. So it's disingenuous to say, Russia, the president told Russia, didn't tell. I mean, he had to, because you had to deconflict those operations, which has, again, been going on for years.
Right, because we were flying the helicopters into airspace that they control.
That's right. So we don't want them to shoot down our helicopter, and then we got to fight.
Yeah, obviously you got to tell them. You have to tell the Bashar Assad government. You have to tell them you're in their territory, right? So sure. I mean, these are the channels. But look, now Pelosi is like demanding an immediate hearing. I mean, they can't even take 15 seconds and say, "Look, great job, everybody involved. Trump, commanders, military, Delta Force, great job, thank you." And then tomorrow you can have the hearing. But immediately they're on TV screaming about who didn't tell who. And if they told her, what would have been the difference? What would she have done? Stopped it? Or what exactly impact would they have? Nothing. I mean, nothing. This is a decision made by. I will say, John, in a normal world, it should be fine for everybody. Those folks to know that. Right.
We're just not in normal times.
Right.
Because. Look, they've been trying to impeach this president since day one.
Right.
I was there since day one. Whatever it is, they're trying to remove him and nullify your vote, trying to not nullify people's vote who voted against the president. Mm-hmm. So they've been trying to do this for years. So we're just not in normal times, and that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate for the country.
You're on the John Fredericks Radio Network, Trucking the Truth Across America. We're with Scott Taylor. Scott is former Congressman, 2nd District of Virginia, that's Southeast Virginia. Scott's running for U.S. Senate for the Republican nomination to face off with Mark Warner in 2020, also a presidential election year. Yeah, we're back on the John Fredericks Radio Network, Trucking the Truth Across America with Scott Taylor running for U.S. Senate 2020, Virginia. Scott, what do you think about this impeachment fiasco?
I think it's a big mistake. I think it's a huge miscalculation by Democrats. I mean, you know very well, Elaine Luria and Spanberger and all some of the other ones that came out with that op-ed and I think it was the Post, I don't even know, but where they came out and, calling for impeachment.
Yes.
They hadn't seen any evidence, nothing, no information whatsoever, but they're like, oh, this is my constitutional duty. I'm swearing to defend the Constitution, but without any evidence at all, any idea whatever. It's not a constitutional duty. It's a decision, it's a political decision to do so. I think it's a mistake. I mean, what you're seeing now is, again, you heard me on the last segment, since day one, they've been trying to impeach the guy. Since day one, some of the people who got elected in 2018, that's what they campaigned on, some of the sort of crazy left progressives. And for the left, the far left, they're like, yes, do it. And I mean, I don't understand how that actually divides and hurts the country. It's horrible. And we talked about earlier too, when you're having these closed hearings, they screwed up in the judiciary. So they tried to do it there. Nadler screwed it up, fumbled it because it was complete BS. So now they're trying to do it. Now their strategy is to do it with Adam Schiff behind closed doors in the Intel Committee under threat. Republicans are under threat. They can't say anything or release any information. Meanwhile, Schiff's groups are, they're leaking things selectively. I mean, I think this is bad for the country. I think they're going to try to do it anyway. They do have the votes to do it in the House. I think there's no chance that the president's going to be, removed from from office because with the Senate. But they do have the votes in the House, so they're certainly trying to do so. But like I said, if you're an American, you are American out there, a Virginian, whether you voted for or against the president, this is essentially nullifying your vote. And exactly. I think it's a big mistake. You might not support the president. Well, it is your right to vote him out if that's the case in less than a year. And so I think this is a huge fraud, what they're trying to do, and they've been trying to do it for 3 years now, and it's bad for the American public, and they just don't care. They haven't done anything. Name one thing the Democrats have done.
Nothing, and they're gonna have to go to the voter. They're gonna have to go to the voters with a completely empty record. They've done nothing. All right, I want to get one phone call in for you, Scott. I know we got a lot of people on hold here for Scott. Let's get to Paul from Orange, Virginia. Hey, Paul, you're on the line with Scott Taylor.
Yes, sir. How you doing today?
Great.
Thing about it is, see, the left, their agenda is their religion, their whole motivation. And that's why we're different than they are, because it's not, we have our religion, we have a God, and, beliefs and whatever. But and if you really listen to it, I've been listening to it, I'm 39 years old. I was born the year Reagan went in office, and, I kind of grew up under that. And that's, what built my love of this country. But you listen to them, they don't have that same love you and me have for this country. I mean, I would lay down my life for this country, but they wouldn't. And that's the whole problem with the left. And that's why they cannot take a time to congratulate her and be thankful that our country's now a little bit better protected because that guy's not around anymore. And that's what the whole deal is. But it's kind of sad. I mean, I was raised up, even though I was Republican, still treat, Democrats with respect, but it's not that way anymore. Like, I would never hurt somebody because or discriminate against them or whatever, because they have the right to do that. But see, that's what we believe that, and they don't. They don't believe you have rights. They want to have total control and power and money. Mm-hmm. And Nancy Pelosi, I agree with President Trump not telling her. Because, I mean, look at their behavior ever since he's been in office. Look at their behavior while he was running for office. I mean, if anybody's
I agree with you. I agree with you.
That
That's
is
why
scary.
I said, look, I couldn't, as a special forces guy, trust Adam Schiff to not leak something because he just wanted to get political advantage, meanwhile putting
But you know what?
our troops'
I'd say
lives
it's
in
all
danger.
Democrats. I'd label all Democrats the same as Adam Schiff right now. After watching their behavior for the last several years, I mean, look at what they did to his campaign when they were spying on a campaign. I mean, that is scary. That's like what I grew up watching at the end of the Cold War. You know,
Well, things are coming out on that note. Wait till the IG report's coming out, and that's not going to be good. And then the investigation's also moving forward.
It's all on them. I mean, that's the FBI, I've lost all faith in. The CIA, I never had faith in. I have friends of mine from the Vietnam War, and they told me all I needed to know about the CIA.
I do have to say I got faith in the rank and file of the FBI and the CIA. I have some friends that are in there, and they're fantastic. But there's been some problems at the top, and certainly the political level.
But they've had sketchy history. They've had especially during the Vietnam War. The stories and my uncle was actually he was actually a photographer. He actually took pictures and videos on the front lines as a Marine and sent them back to the Pentagon to where they got released in the press. And he told me a lot of stories. And he didn't talk about it for a long time. And I think that's what screwed him up the most, was because of what he saw. It wasn't the way it should be. Because he's kind of like you and me, which right is right and wrong is wrong. And there was a lot of lines crossed. But like I said, the left would do anything to get their agenda across, and even if it had to sell us out. I mean, remember when Bill Clinton was in office? I mean, the Chinese prime minister was at the White House like almost every other week. And then all of a sudden, everything was made in China, and jobs were losing over here. I mean, and then
all right, man, we got to go. Hey, Paul in Orange, thank you, buddy. I'm way over our time at the bottom of the hour. Thanks, man, Paul. Scott Taylor, thanks for being with us.